Thank you for contacting Prospera Credit Union.
Hello, thank you for calling Prospera. This is speaking. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm just trying to understand an issue that my strata has been having. The residents of my building were double charged for our strata fees because of a mistake. Strata had an account with Prospera, from what I understand, that was closed November 29th. But for some reason, there was an auto withdrawal that Prospera took from all of the residents in our building on December 1st after the account had been closed. So our strata reached out to us and said that we each individually have to flag that as a fraudulent payment. And that was the solution that Prospera had given our strata. But it just seems strange to me that that would be the best solution rather than having Prospera just return the money that they shouldn't have taken. Would you be able to maybe explain how that process works?
Have you requested like a trace and getting that funds back from them?
Yes, I have. That's what all of the residents in our building were told to do. I'm just confused as to why, if a bank makes a mistake or if Prospera makes a mistake like this, why is it up to every individual owner to rectify that mistake as opposed to the bank rectifying it themselves?
I would think if something was closed, that whoever's in charge of the strata account, one of the members, would have called in and they would have come to a resolution where the funds would go to. That's usually what would happen. But I just can't say a definite thing to you because I can't look up the account seeing what's going on with it, right?
Right. So Strata did do that, right? They contacted Prospera, and Prospera had said that the solution is that every resident has to contact their own banks and tell them it was a fraudulent charge. And that seems like a very strange way to resolve the issue. That's why I'm wondering, 34 people in the building now have to go to their banks and say that there was a fraudulent charge on their account because Prospera made a mistake. That's where I'm confused.
No, I don't understand why that would have been said, but I can't say that that wasn't said because I can't look up that account.
You're saying that that would not normally be a solution that Prospera would put forward? So that
I wouldn't think, I don't see why that would be a solution, but I don't know who was dealing with it and what. Obviously, it doesn't sound right.
When I make a payment to Prospera, there's no record of that?
Because even if I pull up your name, since you don't have a membership, it's not going to find, you know what I mean? It's not like it's going to find somewhere your name pops up on. It just looks in our database for your membership with us. And obviously you can talk to the branch, right?
Can I? They would have a record of who I am?
No, but they wouldn't be able to give you account information, but if they had that membership there, they would probably know a little bit more because whatever resolution that's coming to has to go through the branch as well, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm just surprised. I've, over the years, transferred probably around $30,000 over to Prospera, so I just thought maybe there would be something on file that had happened.
Unfortunately, no.
If the account was closed on the 29th, that wouldn't be enough time for us to have been able to cancel the automatic withdrawals from the other, from everyone's accounts, which is why they still came out. But because there's no account for the funds to go into, it would have automatically bounced back into everyone's account. And then if it hasn't, then that's where each individual strata member would go to their financial institution, not report it as fraud, but report it as payment not according to agreement.
I guess I'm a little confused as to how you can not have an account and still have that money go through without bouncing, because it didn't bounce for anyone in the building. So there's 34 people that have had this happen to them?
If the account is actually closed properly, then there's nowhere for the money to go and it would bounce back. It just wasn't enough time for us to be able to cancel the PAD agreement because they do get sent out 2 to 3 days before the payments actually come out of the account to the other financial institutions as a notice. So the 29th wouldn't have been enough time to cancel it before the 1st.
So it sounds like there's two issues then. One is that it didn't bounce for some reason, even though it should have if there was no account set up. So maybe the account wasn't properly closed by Prospera.
That's what I would worry about if the payments didn't bounce back,
Okay, so there would be one issue that sounds like it was a mistake by Prospera, and then the other issue would be that Strata should have closed the account earlier?
Yeah, we would need at least a week's notice to be able to cancel the PAD agreement ahead of time with the financial institutions. If the account is closed properly, that would mean that right now the money's just kind of sitting in limbo and no one knows what to do with it kind of thing.
Right. So let's say that one of the residents were to have incurred fees related to that money being taken from their account because maybe they didn't have enough money in their account to cover it. Who is then liable for that? Is that Prospera or the Strata that's liable?
That would be the Strata, because they didn't give enough time for the PAD agreements to be canceled, unfortunately.
And also, where does the money go when no account exists? Because from my understanding, Prospera has to do daily accounting and make sure everything balances. And in a case like this, the numbers wouldn't balance at the end of the day, right? So where is that money?
Exactly. So there would be an investigation going on. Sometimes, we can't solve the problem by the end of the day, and it goes into like a mystery GL until we can solve it, but we do have to balance. So because the money is not physical, that's where the problem is. Like it's not something tangible that we have sitting on a counter somewhere.
So assuming that someone in our building doesn't go to their financial institution and flag this, what happens to their money?
It should still get recalled unless it's sitting in, like it will still return back to them. I just don't know how much time it'll take, but it will 100% still get returned back to them.
Okay, so because the bank had made a mistake, the bank will solve that aspect of it, but it might take quite a while for people to get their mony back. It would just be faster if they put a stop on it through their own financial institution. Is that correct? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It will get returned immediately if they put that stop on. Where if you have to wait for people to figure out, where did this extra money come from and why, it may take a little bit longer. I believe it's in our contracts that with any PAD agreements, we do have to have a sufficient amount of time to have those automatic payments canceled.
Okay, and you're saying that time period would be about a week?
Yes, minimum.
A minimum of a week. Okay. Also, do you have a media relations department?
Not a media relations department per se, but if you submit anything to info@prospera.ca, we always make sure that it gets to the correct place.
I'm just having a little bit of trouble, I guess, understanding how this ended up becoming the solution. So my understanding is that the account was closed back in November, and for some reason the payment was allowed to go through regardless, and there was just nowhere for the money to sit because there was no account. Am I understanding that correctly?
Basically, yes. Unfortunately, the account was closed right at month end. But when it comes to creating transfer files for autos, that had already happened. It happens about 3 to 4 days before the payment is expected to be due into the account that it's supposed to credit.
So what I'm hearing is that Strata made a mistake by not submitting that request to have the account deactivated early enough. I spoke with someone who said
that would have solved some of the problem, yes. But hindsight being what it is, yes.
But even if that hadn't taken place, I'm trying to understand why the money didn't just bounce.
Well, it rejects on our side because the account is closed. And then an individual, a person, goes and looks for a home for it. But of course, the account is closed. There's no subsequent account. There's nowhere to put them. So it's actually sitting in an internal account right now, waiting for financial institutions to scoop them back. We've been talking to Central One, and this is like our regulator. So this is what we've been advised we have to do.
So is this then, because it sounds like there's a huge hole then where this mistake could happen all the time, right? If Stratas forget to shut things down in time, and then it can affect, imagine if this happened in a high rise, right? It would be hundreds of people potentially that would be having to...
Absolutely.
So what happens if people don't reclaim their money?
It sits in an account here until they do. There's a 90-day window to do that with your financial institution.
Right. So what I'm saying is if people don't do it within the 90 days, what happens to their money?
Good question. That I'd have to ask. We're hoping that doesn't come to that. I'm sure a mechanism for that I'd have to find out from our payment systems. I've been speaking with our payment systems department for the appropriate solution, and they said they can't return them. They are the requester, therefore it just comes back to us. We don't have agreements in place for two-way transactions with the ownership. We only have an agreement for a one-way transaction. Right. So we can't send it back, and when we reject it, it comes back to us.
It's such a strange situation. You would think that there'd be some more checks and balances with financial institutions to prevent this from happening. I guess my main question in that case is just what happens to the money if people don't claim it? Where does it go?
Good question. I will find out the answer for us.
That would be great if you could. Thank you. Do you have a media relations person at your branch?
Not at the branch. No, that would be at head office.
At head office? And
Yes.
do you know how to contact them?
I could give your name and number if that's good, and they can contact you.
Okay, sure, that would be fine.
No problem. I'll reach out to our communications department and have somebody call you.
Wonderful. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Take care.
You too.